I must confess that there are some things about the railway passion I take for granted, and I think one or two of us are guilty of this as well. Take Furness 20 for example. Now don't get me wrong, the engine is stunning, but when I was looking at her, I failed to see the full picture, including the rails that brought her. Now I'm not saying that if you love cars, you should hug a road, but it's time that we showed the P-Way some love. Well, at least one part of it. Sleepers are such a common part of railway life that is almost overlooked, and yet they have a varied history. Also known as cross ties, sleepers have several roles. Ultimately, the primary role is to hold the rail in both the correct gauge and position. It provides a more even pressure on the track bed and structural stability. When a train passes, it causes a lot of stress on the rails in a very localised space. If the rail was just laid on concrete or stone, then the vibration would have nowhere to travel. By using a sleeper, the vibration is absorbed and cushioned, making the rail less likely to fail. The first form of sleeper to exist was the stone sleeper. In the time of the Stockton and Darlington, by using sandstone and limestone, they did the primary job of keeping the gauge in place, and it was ideal for supporting the most common type of rail, fish belly. The stones were chiselled and shaped with indents cut for the chair to connector, which would support the rail itself. Because the stone had to be cut by hand, the finish wasn't even, and because the stones were unconnected, the vibration and the weight was not distributed evenly, causing rough riding, greater wear on the rail, and costly repairs. As the rail industry grew, using hand-cut stone sleepers simply had to change. Using wood sleepers rather than stone had been around for longer than modern railways. Instead of iron, wagonways used wooden rails. Wood was lighter, easier to work with, plentiful and cheap. And there were different ways of laying the sleeper, but the most common was the ladder track layout, the most popular used today. It was quickly established that stone sleepers, like on the Stockton and Darlington, were less effective than wood, so it wasn't long for railway engineers to use wood-cut sleepers. The type of wood used was also important. The UK has an abundance of trees and forest with a mix of deciduous trees, like oak, beech and birch, to large conifers like pine. Conifers are easier and quicker to grow, with a bonus that most go tall and fairly straight. However, on a molecular front, their cell structure pays the price by having larger gaps between cells, called pits, and less vessel fibre. This is known as softwood, and as the name suggests, it's easy to cut and work with, as it's less dense, but it's not suitable for holding weight. So, no good for a railway then. The opposite of softwood, hardwood, is exactly as the name suggests, and this is perfect for sleepers. They are naturally stronger, again in great abundance. They were more difficult to cut, true, but it proved the most perfect material for the problem. Almost. There was only one little issue. It wasn't waterproof, and over time, even oak beams began to rot. However, the problem was solved in 1832, quite by accident. Carl Reinbach was experimenting with beechwood oils, and in doing so, distilled a substance that, when he put it onto meat, perfectly preserved it. The substance was called carbolic acid. Sold on the market as creosote, this substance was found in coal tar and had both antiseptic and preservative properties. Coal tar had so much of it, and it was until recently the main ingredient of Wright's coal tar soap, one of my many favourite brands, and households would use it for everything from washing clothes to washing people. By rendering coal tar to make creosote, it would be made available to use on wood. The wood would soak it in, and in doing so, take on the preservative properties, perfect for sleepers. The sleepers would last for decades at a time, easy to lay, and the wood could be cut to millimetre precision, ideal for tracks. Remember I said about ladder track arrangements? Well, that's not the only one people experimented with. In 1830, Brunel used sleepers that sat in line with the rails. While they provided better support than the previous stone sleepers, there was still a problem with vibration and rail fatigue. Another lesser known type of arrangement is called the Y-tie. As the name suggests, the sleepers are arranged at an angle in kind of a Y shape. By alternating where the twin sleepers met, the train weight could be spread more evenly. The arrangement also meant less ballast and less sleepers. However, with less material, there was less to absorb sound. It also worked best on straight rails, and curves proved problematic. Another type of tie is bi-block. Similar to the stone sleepers, these were concrete blocks that were held together by a steel bar. As the ties were made out of concrete, they could be made again to a precise measurement, and the bar helped transfer the vibration. This sort of arrangement can be used either with or without ballast, and made the rails really sturdy. So sturdy, in fact, that this is common on high-speed trains. Speaking of concrete, this has now become the most common form of medium to make sleepers. It's cheaper and, compared to wood, more plentiful. As railway engines became faster and heavier, concrete would hold up better. Concrete could also absorb sound and vibration better than wood. Network Rail only used pre-stressed concrete on safety standards. A more modern approach is by going decidedly green. Recycled plastic is being used as a replacement for wood. Although creosote was a breakthrough, it is hazardous to the environment. At first, it was thought that plastic didn't harm anything. However, the discovery of microplastics meant that these sleepers need closer monitoring than first thought. However, despite this, there's been 1 or 2 occasions plastic has been used. There are estimated to be over 3.5 billion sleepers worldwide in use. But even when they are at their end of its railway life, they still have its uses. Sleepers from the Stockton and Darlington have been found masquerading as boundary stones, as bricks, even in gardens. And there was more than one occasion the station master's garden's wooden boundary looked oddly familiar. So while they may not be as exciting as an engine or a coach, a railway wouldn't be a railway without them.